American Horror Story fans, Season 6 is finally upon us. The mystery has been revealed. Kind of. Tune in. We are talking about American Horror Story Season 6, My Roanoke Nightmare. First episode, Chapter 1.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. I haven't heard that in such a long time.
I know.
So
as
happy.
creepy as it is, it feels great.
Love it.
It feels so good.
We're
Oh,
twisted.
the lights.
Hey, what is up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome, American Horror Story fans, to the American Horror Story After Show for Season 6, titled My Roanoke Nightmare, which we kind of know what that means.
I know.
A little history lesson.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I opened a textbook, but I'll figure it out along the way.
I am your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. And today I am joined by two amazing people. We have Michelle Madison.
Oh, thank you. If you guys are on Twitter, hit me up. I am MICH_Madison TV, but mostly on Instagram at Michelle_Madison TV.
Feel that?
And Zach Kelch.
Hello, guys. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Kelch, Z-A-C-H, for those of you who are wondering.
And we're really excited. Kelly McInerney is going to be joining us as well. She
will.
couldn't be here tonight, but we love Kelly, and she'll be here next week. So
She's here in spirit.
Yeah.
A ghostly spirit.
she's just a phantom walking briefly in the hallway. So let's dive right into this episode. This was totally different from every season we have ever seen for American Horror Story.
In a lot
Yes.
of ways, like stylistically, everything, it has a very different vibe than how the rest of these seasons have played out, I think, in the first episode.
I'm liking the docu-series kind of vibe to it, as Zach was saying. But I'm getting like very much so Amityville, Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Salem.
It really is seeming, the first episode had a lot of obvious draws from classic horror films. It's a very melting pot right now of some different things. You know, we had the Blair Witch kind of symbols. We had the shining girls in the hallway. What else did we have? The Amityville house in general.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like almost like, I don't want to say Hills Have Eyes, but just like the
It
general,
is very
like,
Hills Have Eyes.
the
Yeah.
creepy people, you
The
know, with the
hillbillies.
little deformities kind of things going all around.
The stereotypical townies that don't like the foreigners
From
coming
the South.
in.
Yeah. I'm from the South, it's okay.
I'm from the South too, so Alabama, roll tide.
Oh, yeah, you Southern.
Yeah. We're real South. I'm like, that's just my house. I don't know what they're talking about. Everything there is haunted.
Right?
But yeah, I really dig it. It's a very, very odd way to go about it, but because all of the promos were all of these different kind of horror movie tropes,
Right.
and we didn't know what it was going to be, I was hoping that would be something like this that kind of ties all of those tropes
Right.
together. And the docudrama style, I think, does that very well.
I think it's so cool and very clever that they're utilizing these amazing actors that they have by
Yes.
having, you know, Sarah Paulson is playing essentially the reenactment of Lily Rob's story, which is mind-blowingly genius. Ryan Murphy, I haven't applauded you in a minute, but I'm going to right now with this.
Clap, clap, clap. Cheers.
I think he's really hitting the nail on the head with this one. And I
Yeah.
think, to me, it seems like they've taken a lot of the fan feedback into account just with
Right.
the
Which
pilot.
is awesome. Makes sense.
Which I love, because it seems like a lot of the other pilots have been like, hey, here's a little bit of a billion stories, get ready,
Right.
because
Yeah.
we're going to open up 40 more stories for the next 6 episodes.
Right.
Then we'll spend 4 episodes kind of wrapping it up, and one that we're just like, okay, the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this one, the way that they set it up, the way that it seems focused, and they seem to have obvious
Direction.
draws. Yeah.
You know, you really could have watched this episode and thought of it as the first 42 minutes of a film, because it really has such a focused setting, a small group of characters that we already are now getting to know and get familiar with, and really just understand this singular horror. And obviously it's going to spread from there, I can only assume. But this first episode, I think, was the first where you could kind of already get drawn in and have an understanding of where we could go from here, as opposed to some of the past seasons where it is a kaleidoscope of
Things.
Things.
Yeah.
It's just like a
Yeah.
smorgasbord where they're like,
Of
we like
horror.
these movies, we'll just
Put some
Well,
stuff in.
Right.
A little from here, a little from
Yeah.
there.
Like a witch's stew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one
There-
seems more
there you
like
go.
a soup than a stew. Like
Yeah.
it seems like this is thought out. It's not just like
I'm
here's
not
all the
familiar with the
leftovers.
difference, but I'll take
We'll
it.
eat it.
Well, it's all delicious.
Yeah.
Anything Ryan Murphy serves up, I will eat steaming hot. I'll be stoked on it. So love it.
And kind of to piggyback what Zach was saying about the characters, isn't Cuba Gooding Jr. having an awesome year from
Yes.
People
I
versus
turned to
OJ?
both of
That's
you
what I
like
was
thinking.
3
And
scenes
now
in.
this.
But with
And I
Sarah
was like, is that him?
Paulson, I thought with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Sarah Paulson both being in People versus
Oh,
O.J.
yeah.
Simpson, yeah, they had such good chemistry with that. And then
Yeah.
now seeing them like in this
Together.
like couple,
Right.
but and then seeing the dynamic too of Lily Robb and Andre Holland playing the same characters, and both of them perfectly embodying this like deep connection.
Right.
It's like, God, you were just like, hey, what up, Emmys?
It's cool.
Yeah.
We're just shouting
Yeah.
out from the
For-
beginning.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Sarah Paulson's been nominated for 2 Emmys, each for American Horror Story and for People versus OJ. I feel like this one is just like,
Yeah.
give her another one.
Well, that.
From the beginning.
Well,
Yeah.
then, and
Write it
then
down
also
now.
for the show itself, like it's such a throwback to the first season with the original couple in the house with Connie Britton
Yes.
and which Mulroney is this? I don't know. Anyway, the two of them, just having this couple be at the center of it is great again.
Well, they
Love
did
that.
say they were going to go back to the origins for this
Yeah.
one. So
Which that was your favorite season, right?
First,
Zach?
yeah,
Was,
absolutely.
Coven is mine. Yours?
I think mine was probably torn between Murder House and Coven. I don't. Oh, actually, no. I take it back. Hotel.
Really?
Hotel, because
I know,
it
right,
was
Zach?
so.
Hotel
I know
was-
it was, but it was one. A lot of people didn't like Freak Show either, though, and I loved Freak Show.
Freak
Show
Show I
was
prefer not to
gory,
talk
but
about.
I don't know.
So many people hated it.
I mean, it was better than Hotel to me. Hotel was just a great
Hotel.
fashion show for Lady Gaga. My bad.
Hotel.
I'm sorry.
I will say.
Hotel one for the drama, which I liked.
The
like
pilot of
amazing.
Lady
Hotel
Gaga's
was just a
outfits.
Lady
Right.
Gaga music video that was an hour and a half. Like, I'll give you
Right.
that. The pilot between Hotel and this one, I'm like, this one might be teeing up to. I don't want to say too soon that this is going to be my
Yeah.
favorite, but.
Uh-huh.
I like the style of it. I like that we don't really know the direction yet. We haven't
Right.
gotten opening credits. We haven't gotten the full backstory. We know that it's set in Roanoke, North Carolina. Well, it's my Roanoke nightmare. Roanoke doesn't exist anymore. It's now Dare County is
Look
North
at you, Miss
Carolina.
History
so,
buff.
Hey,
Look at
just so
that.
you know.
Somebody was reading up.
Nothing like a 10
Dare.
p.m. on
That's
a
what
Wednesday
you get from
history
AfterBuzz
class.
It was
TV.
originally- yeah.
We research.
I know all about all the counties in North Carolina. I don't. It's just that one.
Me too.
But yeah, so Dare County is the new Roanoke. So Roanoke doesn't actually exist anymore. So that's what makes me think they've already thrown in a little reference to supernatural things.
Right.
And it seemed very Ring with the movie, the video that we
Oh,
saw.
I didn't even think about that one.
I was thinking that's a warning, like someone is trying to help them out.
Do we?
That's my opinion.
I feel like I'm very scatterbrained here, just because we just watched this and there's so many things to
There's
process.
so
do
many
we?
things.
Do we think that pig monster from the video is a real thing, or is
You
that?
know what I think it is? I think it's somebody who. I think it's like a weird killer person who just probably killed a pig
Right.
and just to be scary. Put it on
Yeah.
there. Because that seemed very like
Little
your
Texas
next,
chainsawing.
like the
Oh,
I
or
was
that.
getting the Coven. Coven. You know, remember when Sally, not Sally, when the Madame's character had a thing with horses and the man, the
Yeah,
mentor,
yeah.
Matador. Is that what is it? Yeah, that's what I was getting. But it reminds me of a really bad movie on Thriller. I think called The Bunny.
I've seen the
you know what I'm
poster for
talking
that.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
But
I
I
was
just
thinking.
love that already we have, like for Murder House we had Rubber Man. And then this one we have
Right.
Pig Face Man, like immediately. Like you're like, oh, okay, so there's the weird go-to creature
Yeah.
immediately established.
But also, what's very I don't want to say like exciting for me is that we have like a little bit of a mob aspect. So we it's not. Right now it's like a general cloud of fear versus a concentrated, like I think Hotel, you went in understanding like Lady Gaga is supposed to be this monster you kind of knew going in. There was a singular character that we were going to be in fear of or whatever it might be. And this, it seems like we're working through something bigger than just a human or just a being. So I think this is very...
Their dead ghosts coming back to life. That's what I
It's the
think.
ground,
It's
like...
weird. Okay, you know what's
Scooby-Doo.
super weird about that too? The breathing ground. That's a real thing too. In Nova Scotia, that's an actual. There's a place that's Apple River, Nova Scotia. Look it up. I know. I'm just like history lesson.
I know. You're like
Let me tell you some
TLC, the
geography.
Learning Channel here.
I think you're making
love it.
some stuff up tonight.
But it's crazy. This is a real phenomenon that these gases get trapped underneath it.
Oh, yeah, and it goes-
it'll make, and so that visual is from an actual place. So I just
Crazy.
thought that was such a cool thing too.
Yeah.
And they've had a lot of this one, especially kind of weird symbolism that isn't so far-fetched like some of the other seasons. They never really tied in what you were like,
Right.
what is this symbolic of? This one seems to be a little more direct. Like we get the hail that are teeth falling, which, you know, a common reoccurring dream is like losing your teeth, and that's
Right.
supposed to represent like losing control and not being in control of situations.
Or they're from
So-
the South and people don't
Yeah.
want to have a lot of teeth.
That's what it
I'm
actually is.
sorry. I'm
That's
from
what
the
it
South.
is.
I could say stuff like
It
that.
was all the
these
locals.
are all veneers. You know?
We know what happened to all the locals' teeth now was they got absorbed into the clouds.
And they just rain.
Is that how precipitation works?
Yes, this is another lesson in science.
Taking notes.
Yeah. But I mean, think about that. Like, if that is like a reference to like the dream or
Right.
whatever thing, it's like, well, you have no control. Like, this is the most you are completely out of your element in every
Right.
sort of symbolic and physical representation that you can have.
Right.
So right off the bat, having kind of, I think, symbolism that is more identifiable for audiences and less.
Well, I
All over the
think
place.
probably why I feel so strongly about this episode is that it seems like they went back to some of the basics of horror and really wanted to make a much more approachable and kind of absorbable process for viewers, because I think we are so used to now with American Horror Story jumping through time and space back to back, you never even know what's real or what isn't. And I think this episode went to a really classic production value and timeline that they wanted to follow with this docu-series style and everything. It's really laid out at this moment. It's really laid out for us to understand and follow along, and I think that was a great move for them. And with that, we have all these different moments, the teeth and all these other classic tropes that are kind of going step by step with us, so we keep seeing a progression of it already building. And I think obviously we're going to get into a different era or whatever it might be with our little colonial murdery neighbors coming about this episode.
Yeah.
I'm
We
sure.
got Kathy Bates.
We got
Little
Kathy
cameo.
Bates, just a little
I
bit
was
of Kathy
excited.
Bates.
But I think in general,
Making a
like
hit, literally.
Did we think that was Kathy Bates who held her down in the hot tub? Like I feel like we
definitely-
got a glimpse of a
I think
woman.
it definitely looked like Kathy
I
Bates.
thought it was the Shining Twins.
Oh, really? I thought it was
see,
Kathy
I saw
Bates.
some like
I did
gray
too.
hair. I was thinking that it was.
It just kind of looked like, well, maybe just because
Maybe we
when I
wanted it
think
to
of
be her.
Kathy Bates, I'm like,
Hold you
Misery.
down.
She'll
Hold you
always
down.
be able to do this scene.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, this one I think is so brilliantly done because, like any good horror movie, it pulls you in and it's just where you're questioning enough, but you can still follow along.
Right.
Which, yeah, I think definitely 100% I agree with you that by stripping everything down and kind of getting rid of all of these extraneous things,
Right.
like, there were so many seasons that I loved that just had weird storylines that
Right.
kind of pittered out. And so,
Well, I guess speaking of story, should we like just kind of like
Yeah,
move
let's do a
through? I guess
rundown.
these.
so we start out first with them buying this house. Well, first they're in LA, and
What are they?
unfortunately,
Matt and Shelby, right?
Matt and Shelby are the victim of a gang initiation where Matt gets knocked out.
Right.
And we find out Shelby was pregnant, the stress of all of it, her getting pushed, whatever happened, they lose their baby. It's a big traumatic experience. They decide to move to North Carolina, get out of the city, go where it's safer, to the middle of
Allegedly.
hills, hell have eyes, creepy woods. I'm like, who are these real estate agents that are like, oh, you've had this traumatic event, let me put you in the worst possible home.
Right.
Yeah, the guy
Also-
looks like the. I'm sorry.
No.
I was gonna say the guy looks like the guy from what's the movie with the little girl that goes through the TV? Remember?
The Ring.
Poltergeist?
No, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
That's what he reminds me of. The guy with the hat. He's just there selling a house. Oh, 700.
Right.
Yeah. That did seem very,
I was
which
like,
I
he's
kind
a
of
realtor
liked.
or is he the auctioneer?
I think
That was, I think, supposed to be a visual throwback.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of the Ryan Murphy produced things like to go a little kitschy and whatnot, and like to do these on the nose moments, and so I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was.
It was creepy because I was like, this feels like Amityville horror. Like
It
I'm
does.
just like,
I mean,
would
it
look
set
at
a
that house
tone.
and
I mean,
not-
when they had that opening shot of them walking up to that house, it was
Oh my
immediately
God.
a.
Can we talk about the production design on this show?
Yeah.
This
Because,
house,
oh,
obviously not a real house, but like
my dream home. I'm like,
I mean,
my Roanoke dream home.
You know, like
especially that stairway.
maybe
I
put it
love
like in the hills, but like not in those
yeah,
hills.
not those hills. No.
Really? You don't think like murdery hot tub is a good selling point?
You know, it's not my
Not if
ideal
you're
location.
killing and smashing, but no.
The killing pool, it's great.
I guess just keep the rosé flowing, as
See,
Sarah Paulson
Deadpool
did.
was so successful. They're like, we'll make
Not
our
that
own.
Deadpool. No.
Well, we're getting some things mixed in.
No.
Maybe a
no.
little bit. So they end up getting this house. Anytime in any horror movie or any sort of horror anything,
Moving
when
into
you
a new
have to
house.
ask, why is it so cheap?
Yes.
And they can't give you a real answer.
Right.
It's ghosts.
Well, and
Always.
then you have three hillbillies like
Yeah.
licking their teeth,
don't
staring
want
at you. You
this
don't want
house.
this house. I would listen to those hillbillies. You too. I'm just gonna say.
And I'm curious as to why they wanted it, because they know something.
I also have to be
So-
like, why are you like this pissing contest where you jump immediately to
Well,
40,000? I was like, you could have
Zach, you
gone like
answered that for
35.
us.
Sorry?
That was a male pissing contest. You answered that for us. Because I
No,
would have just said 30.
Yeah, I would've been like,
Speaking on behalf of Cuba, as I do often, speaking on his behalf.
it's good you're here since he
Because
often asked
we
you
were
to speak
logical.
on
We
it.
were like, all you have to do is go up 500, not
just-
like
Yeah.
I'll just
thousands.
text Cuba Gooding.
Okay.
All right. No.
Real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And ask him to bring us some wine too.
Right.
He said back, it's worth it. It was a good house. We like the staircase.
I get. Well, and this was, which, you know, again, a throwback to the first season, the moving into a new house that you maybe shouldn't live in. There are some inklings from Shelby that she just didn't want to admit to her husband that she wasn't a fan. But as these horror movies and shows go, you often push down the original fear to hope for the best.
But I don't like that she didn't admit it until after he bid up for the house. Because she doesn't say it before. It's
Right.
like, as soon as he said 40 and the guy was like, sold, and they're like, ha ha ha. Then she says,
Right.
well, I got this bad feeling.
Yeah, well, say something about your bad feeling before.
Yeah.
How about
She
as
said
soon
she
as-
loved it because he loved it. Isn't that what she said?
Yeah.
True love.
That's an
It'll kill you.
expensive.
But I also feel like because the way that was brilliant, and I love you. Because the way that they have it set up, the docu style too, we see that in most of like the flashback things where they're like, "Well, I knew all along," and you're like,
Right.
"Well, did you really?"
I
So-
almost wonder: are we assuming that maybe we're going to see the marriage itself unravel? Because we don't really. I don't know how much of the.
we don't see them sitting together.
Yeah, we don't see them sing together, and a
Yeah.
lot of the way they're talking, obviously in past tense, because talking about past events. But
That's a good call.
you can maybe read into it.
It
that
looks very like it's the
some lines
reminiscent
could
kind
have
of
drawn.
nostalgia. Everything was so great
Right.
until the worst day of our life when just everything changed. And so it's
Right.
like, okay, well,
Right.
but doing the docu style, we were talking about this too. How much peril can they possibly be in? Because
we
they
assume
clearly
they
survived to record
survived.
their interviews.
Unless Jinkies, it catches up at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
At the
that
end,
was a
and then-
Scooby-Doo moment.
I liked it.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
That
thinking.
could be a trip.
I think that yeah.
I mean, we don't even know the context of these interviews, like what
Yeah.
they're actually
And you know
being
what?
used for.
Honestly,
It could
we
be.
don't even know if this is going to be the whole story or if it's going to be set up where like every 2 episodes is another mini story, like of this fake TV show.
don't
It
ask
could
for
be
that.
like, I mean, think about it. It could obviously be because they have it set up like a mini style whatever. They could do a few episodes of one and then be like, this is the next story within a story. Which would be a total Ryan Murphy inception.
I think based on the
that's-
way the pacing of this episode, I have to hope that it sticks with them.
they would have to do at least one more episode because nothing has been answered. Like
right.
they would
I mean,
have
if
to
anything,
do
it just ended on a
a bigger cliffhanger.
Ta-da.
Yeah. And the little Blair Witch dolls, I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna research.
I'd be
it.
out. I
I'm gonna
mean,
research
good
it.
on her for running out. Anyway, we're skipping ahead.
Yeah,
on
we're
what happens.
skipping
Sorry,
way ahead.
sorry.
We haven't even talked about how genius Matt links up all these security cameras to his cell phone.
First time.
Right.
Which I
Because-
love the little comedic things that they throw in there.
Right.
It's like pretty good for an amateur. You're
Right.
like, okay.
But, you know, and then of course he has to have the profession that requires him to leave for an extended period of time very often. So she is, I mean, within the first half of the episode, she's home alone 2 or 3 times. And each time without fail, we have the rain of teeth. In the middle of the night, what else happens to
hot
her?
tub.
Well, she
The
gets
hot
the hot
tub
tub was
is the big one.
was the whole impetus for why he got the
Right.
cameras, because the police said this doesn't make any sense. There's no footprints. This isn't a thing. Like basically,
Right.
we think you're
She's
full
crazy.
of it.
Yeah.
You already admitted that you were seeing things that weren't there. That
Right.
couldn't have been a thing. But Matt is saying to her directly, "I definitely believe you. We're gonna take some steps. Something's going on."
He's a little
He's
iffy,
apprehensive.
but-
He's like, I don't think that you're lying. I just think, something's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see what happens. I thought as soon as he set up the cameras, it was going to be like a Blair Witch ghost thing that he would catch. And then instead, it's just like, nope, angry mob. They have torches.
Angry mob in
see,
colonial
I thought
garb.
it would have been a glimmer of something. I wasn't expecting to be a full.
Like he
mob.
literally just
Like,
saw people
For me,
walking.
that's where it paced up really quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
I expected it to just be a glimmer, and it was like, oh, maybe the camera angle was
I thought it was
wrong.
going to be the whole Shining thing where she's walking by and seeing just the glimpses of things for the entire episode. I didn't
Right.
think we were going to get a solid set, like a
Right.
chunk of the meat of the story that much.
Which that moment came once Matt's sister, came to stay with her for a weekend because Matt had to go away again, and this was now a peak of Shelby's fears and everything happening. So his sister's there, who we now get the backstory that she used to be a cop and was let go from the force because she had a pill addiction. And so she's there. She's
and
Angela
she just
Bassett.
hit rock bottom, has a divorce,
And they
loses
don't like
full
each
custody of
other.
her kids.
They do not like each other because
Do not
Angela
get
Bassett's
along.
character is a very by the books cop type, and Shelby is a nice hippity dippity yogi. So
Didn't
on
work.
paper they're not going to like each other.
Yeah.
But then they get locked in a basement together.
You think that would be a bonding moment?
It's weird too because it kind of
Probably.
is. But up until that point, the other supernatural things that were happening, like the knife being taken and put in the meat, she immediately thinks, Shelby immediately goes, well, Lee did this. Why would she do that? That's so horrible.
Yeah.
The wine bottle, the empty wine bottle gets rolled over.
I honestly
then-
totally forgot about those.
Yeah, she rolls the wine bottle and she's saying, why would you do this to me? And both of them are saying, they never reference
it.
the knife.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's clearly they think it's the other one, and neither of them did it. So there's some
Miscommunication.
sort of supernatural element that is pitting them together
Yep.
and creating animosity.
Well, I think it was that, but also I think that they truly wanted to. I mean, they were trying to instigate whoever they is. I don't know who they is at this moment, but trying to instigate something to draw them into a room together so they could get in one space. Because clearly, the whole motive was just to string up whatever these figures are in the house because they didn't.
I'm
They
calling
didn't.
them Blair Witch
They didn't try and
dolls.
harm them.
But
They obviously knew where they were in the house. They knew they were in the basement, and they just wanted to do this.
But the
But
thing
see,
is,
whatever
too,
we think it
someone had to have already been in the house.
No, I know.
To
Right.
unless
So-
again, it's just all supernatural things that
Which
are all
I
linked.
think.
Yeah, I think that it's all.
Do we
I
think
think
so?
it's
The thing there's
all
like
linked.
more of a ghost
Well, the whole
moment
thing,
in the house versus the
it's plural.
colonials.
I think it's colonial ghosts.
I agree with you, but this is where I'm going to defer. I think it's the bad ghost trying to pit them against each other, and I think it's a good ghost who's trying to warn them and brought them into the basement for them to see that video. That's my opinion.
Interesting.
To keep them safe.
Yes, and
I
it
think
ended up
I'm
bonding.
with you.
So I
because
think
that
that's what
also
happened.
locked them in, turned out all the lights. If the lights were on in the basement, they would have known upstairs that they were down there. I don't think it was. I'm totally with you. I don't think that they were drawn in as this is
I
a
hadn't
freak
thought
you
about
out.
that.
I
This
think
was
it's
the
a let's
protection.
keep you, because as soon as they were in the basement, they were upstairs. I was like, well, thank God they're in the basement because then they didn't go.
And then that adds a huge level of speculation of why the hillbillies wanted the house in the first place. Maybe
That's
the
what I'm
house,
saying.
to a certain
I wanna-
extent, is like a safe place. I don't know.
I think remember they said something about the land being protected because they can't build on it?
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
protected. And you know what I think? Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm going to research like you next week. I'm going to have my notes.
Okay.
'Cause I think the dolls are actually good.
That they're protective dolls?
Yeah.
So,
because I think it's a Native American play on things. So I'm going to research.
Roanoke, we can actually, we'll talk a little bit about, because at this point we've kind of caught up with all the episode where the end, she runs out, she hits somebody, turns out to be Kathy, well, what we think is Kathy Bates' character.
And she has the knife.
And she just pulls out this knife, keeps walking into the woods.
But also, like, I was so bad. I was like, I always respect the person in the scary movie who just is like, no, I'm out, and just leaves.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would have done.
That's who I want to be.
I would have done that a couple weeks ago.
We're not going to go back and look. We're just going to go.
But it seems like a lot of, again, the trope of you try to leave and something stops you.
Right.
And then now she's pulled into the woods and she's lost in there and she can't get away and the ground is breathing and all this stuff is happening.
And she stumbles into what looks like some sort of a
scalped man.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's the torches in a circle, and she's seeing faces blurred in the trees all around.
So what I'm thinking, Roanoke, the colony,
The
a
original
little bit
history.
more history lesson. And this has just become American Horror Story,
History
American
lesson.
History Story.
Definitely need to bring wine next week.
Yeah, so get ready for American History Story. We're going to talk a little bit more about Roanoke.
This is not what I signed
What
up
your
for.
history teacher didn't tell you.
So, early 16th century, Queen Elizabeth I
Okay.
is talking to Sir Walter Raleigh.
Oh,
He's
we
this
like
guy who
really
is
throwing
this is
out
like a
some
real
legit
thing.
stuff.
Yeah, he's an explorer.
I know this because my dog's name is Raleigh.
Oh,
That's the
cute.
reason. I don't think Raleigh, North Carolina is related. I'm not sure. But I know he goes to settle in North Carolina because she says basically you got to go settle or you're going to lose your chance to colonize.
Yeah, they
like
need
it's now
land
or
to
never.
sell.
Do it, go. So they go to Roanoke. They leave some people. They come back after 3 years after the last shipment. Everybody's gone. And they're like, well, what's happening? Then the people who go, so they send John White and Simon Fernandez in like 1587. They show up. Nobody's there. He says, okay, well, we're going to colonize. And everyone's like, well, let's just go home. Like, clearly some bad crap went down. Why are we doing this? And he's still to this day, nobody knows why. He said, no, 115 of you, you're all staying here. We're going to colonize. We're going to make it good, whatever. Spanish War happens. They dip. They can't come back. Trying to get their way back. They finally come back, and again, everybody's gone. The houses have been slowly dismantled, so there's no...
The disappearance happened twice?
Settled the first time, and then it was basically kind of like the introductory mission. They were like,
Okay.
well, nothing happened, so now we come back to look for these people. They're gone, we're settling. Then this is when they have the full colony set up.
Right.
They're, again, just gone.
I didn't
Croatoan
know
is
that.
carved into a tree. So they're
knew that.
thinking probably they left to go to the Croatoan Islands. But, again, years later, there's a whole bunch of different theories of what could have happened to this lost colony because they were supposed to carve a cross if there was any sort of duress. If they left under some sort of whatever bad thing, there's no cross, only this word. So they go to try to find the link or whatever. They find Native Americans that have been living peacefully with them. A chief actually admitted that he killed everybody, that he chose to kill everyone because he had a prophecy that said that they were going to harm them if they didn't slaughter everyone. So they killed all the women, men, and children. So that's the most, and they've done, in 2007, they actually went and did some DNA research and found on this island some different stuff that links, that makes them think that that's what actually happened.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the scalped guy at the end that we see bleeding all over the place, which is that who was that? Was that Wes Bentley?
No. Wes Bentley
was the
comes
guy
out
that
the
came
very
out
last
the
second.
bush.
He seems like he's running that show. That was the vibe I got. He seemed like boss man who
Yeah,
was
he didn't seem
stepping
afraid.
in.
Who's like
That he just seemed like a rant. I think that was
Yeah,
just a
I couldn't tell
scary
there's just some
moment.
dude.
Yeah.
That's why, but I saw that and I'm wondering if that has something to do with like the actual Roanoke
I'm sure.
thing. But
Yeah.
because it
That
seems
sounds
like
scalping was something that was very popular.
Right.
so it seems like
So,
maybe this is a haunted thing that's on ancient Indian burial ground, and maybe that's why it's
Native
protected, and you can't. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Whatever.
Be
PC,
politically
PC,
correct,
Native
Gotta
American.
respect. We try.
Not trying to offend.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're trying.
Those settlers would have said Indian because they thought they were in India originally because they
Fair.
weren't that great. Well, they knew that it was America at that point. Whatever. But I think, that it's going to be some sort of like burial ground, like haunted thing.
Didn't they say when they were doing the auction that the house was built in a specific year? Did we?
Yes, it was 1792.
Have we looked? We didn't have time yet,
haven't
probably to
really
look it up to
found-
see
we'll
if
look
it's
it
a
up.
significant.
Next time, guys.
Yeah, unless anyone
And
is
follow
anyone
us on Twitter all
is
the
anyone
time
chatting
too.
with
Yeah,
us to see
anybody in
anyone
the
knows
chat,
this
let
stuff?
us know. What do you guys think?
Any history buffs
1792.
out
Look it
there.
up.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a general era,
That was still pretty early colonialization time. So,
Everybody's basically saying, "What would you do, fight or flight?" And everybody's saying fight. I'm saying
flight.
that's
Fight?
a lie.
I'm saying flight.
You can't fight
Y'all
a
are-
ghost.
Okay.
What ghost?
No.
And
Y'all
they
are
drink the
so-
rest of the wine. You're fighting drunk ghosts. I'm not gonna fight a drunk
Y'all
ghost.
are solo or Max with one other buddy in a massive house surrounded by these people. What? I mean,
I'm
unless
out.
that gun she has locked up in a box is like an automatic weapon, I don't think you have much.
Living drunk rednecks are terrifying.
Or she's
a
I don't want
Ghostbuster.
dead drunk rednecks
Right.
coming to kill me. No,
I'm good.
That's
I'm
too far.
gone.
Where is
It's too
Leslie
far.
Jones when you need her to come in there and bust these damn
Exactly.
ghosts?
I'm so gone, and you guys, I'll
that
call
one.
Ghostbusters when I get there. No.
They probably don't have service though. That's always a thing.
Oh no, she had service because he was calling her.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
true.
So,
Sorry, Dave G.
I know she
We're
didn't
not
have
trying to
Sprint.
offend the hillbillies. He said Indians is offensive, but hillbillies isn't. Sorry.
We're sorry. We're Southerners, so we,
Yeah.
we're kind of.
I'm from Alabama. I can say hillbillies. There's a difference between Southerners
and I'm a Florida
hillbillies.
girl, so.
The I'm gonna kill you because you
what's
bought this
the-
house. Those are hillbillies. That's not representative of the South.
We're just
Okay.
using it as a
Our
general
bad.
term of fictional characters.
Okay.
We don't know. We can call them the ZZ Tops for now on.
Yeah.
To be less
Thank you guys for
offensive.
telling me what a ZZ Top is, because I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Right.
ZZ Top, by the way, is a
embarrassed.
Southern rock band. For anybody who does not know of ZZ Top,
Right.
correct this grievous error.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, what? I don't even. Can we? We kind of have done predictions as we've gone along. I was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
how do we?
Yeah,
Form,
I mean, this.
It's a little
before
early to
we
form.
toss to predictions, I just want to get kind of an overall. What do you guys feel about this episode, just as a standalone episode, as a pilot?
I like the end. The end was a meat and potatoes for me. Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
True. The end really did build up to a nice cliffhanger for us to get some more substance happening. But for me, which I kind of already said earlier, I like this because it almost plays like the beginning of a horror film where we really just are focused in on this story. And as much as we don't necessarily have backstory of these characters, and I don't know if we're going to get more than what we already do, we're just immediately immersed into this world that they're living in and being terrified in. So I'm very hopeful for what's about to happen.
Did you guys have a favorite part? Not necessarily a favorite scene, but like a favorite aspect or. Angela Bassett for me. I was just like,
Ooh,
you're
actually,
a goddess.
this is just plain to me, but I love a good Lost in the Woods with some fog and the light coming through moment, and that seems to be happening a lot, and so I'm living for that.
That's scary.
That scene where all the lights went out too, and just the phone is glowing and saying Matt. Like I was like, that shot is gorgeous.
I was
Your
expecting
lighting
a hand to
department.
come into the light of the phone and pick it up, and I was like, ah!
But that's what was so good about this episode too, is because all the things that you were like, oh, this is gonna be what happens, and you're like, oh no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the time I feel like I'm like, this is gonna be what happened.
Right.
That's exactly what happened.
Y'all don't jump at all. I jump.
No, we jumped.
I jump very easily.
All three of us jumped for the Kathy Bates.
For hitting the
Yeah,
car.
we all three of us jumped for that one because we were
I
like,
jumped at the
that
shutters
was
when the
good.
shutter. They had a bunch of good like jump
Yeah.
scares
It's hard to scare me,
that
but
I
that
thought
one,
were pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah, that one.
I'll cuddle with you the rest of the season then.
So let's go ahead and jump into some predictions.
Oh gosh.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
I'll let Zach go first.
Okay, this is very general. It's probably what we call all be thinking. There clearly is something in the house that maybe these colonials as we assume want. And I think we're going to obviously, maybe the next episode will be from the past perspective, so then we'll like kind of do a back and forth thing, because I think we're going to get to a point of understanding why they're attacking this house, and there's something about it. So I think we're gonna get a little sepia tinged moment, get a little black and white, yellow look back to see why this house has so much significance. And yeah, I just hope that our protagonist can survive in the meantime.
Or survive her sister-in-law.
Right. Yeah. True.
We'll see. I will say this. I think what was the term we were not supposed to use for the hillbillies? Well, we're supposed to
ZZ Tops.
The ZZ Tops. I think the ZZ Tops are gonna actually be allies. To them. I think so, because they set it up where we're supposed to not like them. We're supposed to, think the worst of them, because they're interracial couple. Because notice they didn't say anything bad to them. They didn't really stare them down in a bad way. It was just more like, oh gosh,
you
took
don't want
the house.
This house, yeah.
But I think they're going to end up putting some of the pieces of the story together as far as the house. I feel.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I always try to think weird, but I think they may end up being an ally.
I could see that, because there's a lot of horror movies where they're like, you get creeped out by, like, I'm thinking of Urban Legend.
Right.
Like going like really obscure, where she's got like the creepy guy who's trying to warn her that there's somebody in the back seat.
Right.
But because he just seems off, like
we just
automatically.
Yeah. So that I could see that being a big psych out.
Ooh. You got some good ideas.
I'm
like
the
the
way
way you
Jinkies
think.
girl today.
Oh, zoinks all the way. I love it. Yeah, I'm just really excited to see Evan Peters and Lady Gaga, because I was waiting this whole episode, like, when am I going to get my Gaga?
Yeah.
When the teeth came down, I was like, is Lady Gaga going to be a tooth fairy? And then I was like, okay, now I'm just jumping to crazy things. But I'm so excited to see what their characters are going to be.
I mean, watching the end. I mean, we don't have the official credits yet, but you see, everyone is back to play.
Everyone's
all
back.
These actors. So we have now we've now met 3 or 4 of the ones who we're used to, and we still have well over half that we haven't seen yet. So
I feel like they're saving them in a very deliberate way.
I'm sure.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Is it bad for me to want to see what Lady Gaga is gonna wear?
I know.
I'm sorry, it's the girl in me.
It's just.
I'm with it.
The thing is,
This is my Gaga right
Evan
here.
Peters, I think, was just doing something or some sort of press, and he was so adamant about not saying a single thing to reveal what's going on. So it's very. I think them doing such a sealed lip this season is working very well.
It is. It's building up a lot of hype, because because even now we just watched the premiere and we're like, we kind of know what's happening. Like, we still just want more.
Oh, I will rewatch this episode.
It's a rock concert where we're just screaming encore at the end. Like, what? Like, as soon as the credits roll, I was like, that was it? No! Come back. I need more of this. So, I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited.
I just want this season to blow out the last season.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want.
Great.
I'm optimistic. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Hands, toes.
Oh.
Everything.
Now, before we go, I do want to throw in a little bit of news and gossip, too.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
TV news.
I just like our little...
I've never heard that one. I've never said anything important enough to get that sound effect.
So, last night I got a pretty cool opportunity. I got to go to Universal Studios Hollywood and see a sneak peek of American Horror Story The Maze at
Yes.
Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
Funners.
So, just a little what up to everybody who's planning to go to Horror Nights. Go to that
Yes.
maze first. Immediately. Go to that one first. The line is going to be crazy long and well worth it. It was
you probably should get
incredible.
the express pass.
I had
It
3 or
was
4
amazing,
friends
yes.
go there last night, and everyone came back saying the Horror Story House was the best part
So good.
of it.
It's Murder House, Freak Show, and Hotel. And talking about Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's there. Valentina's
Slayed.
there.
She wasn't even there, but she slayed.
Yes, the character's there. It's just know everybody that
How
you
do you
love
get one of
from
those
it.
bedazzled gloves with the claw?
Ah,
Oh, see,
Absolutely
she went
love
for
it.
it
I'm telling you,
tonight.
man. I'm telling you. I'll get you one.
Great.
We'll be twins.
Perfect.
But yeah, so definitely glowing endorsement. Halloween Horror
Everyone in the
Nights.
LA area.
If anybody is going
Get
to
your
be
booty
anywhere
to-
near LA, it opens this weekend. Friday's the opening night and then runs through even after Halloween.
Probably
I believe.
November.
Yeah,
Usually
November,
they
do
the
that.
weekend
Yeah.
after. So definitely recommend it. It was super cool. Not
I
going to
can't
spoil
wait.
too much, but just
Yeah.
know. And they have very clear delineations between each one.
Okay.
Great.
Like
good.
you know which season you're walking into. It's like living in the actual show. It's like walking into
love
talking about
that.
production design for the show.
Yeah.
It's living production design.
No
Amazing.
detail unlooked.
So
Yeah,
good,
okay.
so good, so good.
I don't know if I can deal with Leatherman up close. That's a little. Ooh.
I
It was
want
a lot
I
to
heard
me.
some stuff.
Scare me.
Pigface Man was a very much leather. No, it was very
Pigface
much like
Man.
a throwback to that one. No, it was a lot for me.
So was that the inspiration for the look today? Because I
You know,
love this
rubber-
latex.
yes, this was a
Right.
little rubber man, a little reference
girl.
to
There you go.
yeah, rubber girl. Little
Yeah.
reference to the first season, since this one is kind of bringing it back to the
Yeah.
first season. So I like
Yeah,
it.
you brought it back.
So do you guys have anything to add before we say goodbye to everyone for the evening?
No, just the anticipation is going to be crazy this season. I think I'm excited.
Excited. We cannot wait to see you guys back here next week too. But in the meantime, where can we find more from you?
Everyone, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at Zach Kelch. Have a good night.
Follow me on Instagram at Michelle_Madison TV.
And you can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan, ALANAJORDAN, and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. Join us back here next week. We're so excited. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.